Hello, I'm Lucas. This is a Bit of Lit, and we're gonna do some Poetry Thursday today. We're gonna read a poem that has been on my mind for a long time. It's a little bit longer. It's Porphyria's Lover by Robert Browning. The first time I read it, the book edition that I had, the editor made a brilliant choice to have the first half on one page, and then where the poem turns on its head, when you turn the page and flip it over, you see the rest of the poem, and it's shocking. This is not that, and you can't see it anyway, but we're going to be reading the Norton Critical Edition version, which has all kinds of great critical notes, critical apparatus. But let's just read it, and we'll talk about it. Hopefully I won't stumble over any of my words. Porphyria's Lover by Robert Browning. The rain set early in tonight. The sullen wind was soon awake. It tore the elm tops down for spite, and did its worst to vex the lake. I listened with heart fit to break, when glided in Porphyria. Straight she shut the cold out and the storm, and kneeled and made the cheerless grate blaze up, and all the cottage warm. Which done, she rose, and from her form withdrew the dripping cloak and shawl, and laid her soiled gloves by, untied her hat, and let the damp hair fall. And last, she sat down by my side and called me. When no voice replied, she put my arm about her waist, and made her smooth white shoulder bare, and all her yellow hair displaced, and, stooping, made my cheek lie there, and spread o'er all her yellow hair, murmuring how she loved me, she too weak for all her heart's endeavor to set its struggling passion free from pride, and vainer ties dissever, and give herself to me forever. But passion sometimes would prevail, nor could tonight's gay feast restrain a sudden thought of one so pale for love of her, and all in vain. So she was come through wind and rain. Be sure I looked up at her eyes, happy and proud. At last I knew Porphyria worshipped me. Surprise made my heart swell, and still it grew while I debated what to do. That moment she was mine, mine, fair, perfectly pure and good. I found a thing to do, and all her hair in one long yellow string I wound 3 times her little throat around, and strangled her. No pain felt she, I am quite sure she felt no pain. As a shut bud that holds a bee, I warily oped her lids. Again laughed the blue eyes without a stain, and I untightened next the tress about her neck. Her cheek once more blushed bright beneath my burning kiss. I propped her head up as before, only this time my shoulder bore her head, which droops upon it still. The smiling rosy little head, so glad it has its utmost will, that all it scorned at once is fled, and I, its love, am gained instead. Porphyria's love, she guessed not how her darling one wish would be heard, and thus we sit together now, and all night long we have not stirred, and yet God has not said a word. Okay, so, what? The speaker of this poem, like I said, there's a certain point, it, it sounds fine, normal, kind of a love poem, and then it just changes and gets scary and disturbing, and oh God, this poor woman. Sorry about that. My phone fell over. Anyway, yeah, it makes a real twist. It goes from fairly normal, a little strange love story to Oh my God. Um, this poor woman is a victim of domestic abuse. And I don't like what the speaker does, but the poem is, the voice of it is very strong and disturbing, and the 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 speaker is very delusional, and I think it comes out very strongly. And I'll leave a link to the poem because the language is beautiful and how he does it and the way the caesures and the I forget all the terms. Like when the poem keeps going past the end of the line into the next line. Caesures are when it stops in the middle of the line. Um, I forget what that's called. Anyway, yeah, there are a few points that I want to point out that sort of build up the drama of this. So, of course, early on when Porphyria comes in, she shut the cold out and the storm, right? So it's cold and chilly. Life is sort of bitter without her. And and kneeled and made the cheerless grate blaze up and all the cottage warm. Sort of like her sensuality, her existence just makes everything warm and makes his sensuality warmer, I would think. It's sort of how I take it. Um, let's see. What's the next part? Yeah. She put my arm about her waist and made her smooth white shoulder bare. It's very sensual, I think, especially given the time this was written in the 19th century. Ho, 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 ho. I can only imagine. Uh, I know that Victorian England is like a very repressed sort of culture. And one of my professors told me that tables used to have in proper society. Um, they had to have their tablecloths go all the way to the ground because it was obscene if the table legs were showing because it was like too revealing. So I can only imagine what this could mean for a woman to do that, which is why I sort of think that her coming in and making everything warm and getting out of the storm and all that is sort of a sensuality sort of thing. Of course, she murmuring how she loved me, she too weak for all her heart's endeavor to set its struggling passion free from pride and vainer ties to sever. It seems to me that she's actually from a better place, and this guy is, whoever he is, he's out in the middle of nowhere maybe, or just in a secluded part of town or something. Actually, wait, what does it say? Yeah, I guess he's by the lake and near the forest, or in the forest by the lake. And oh, what was I going to say? She's probably from high society. I mean, Vayner ties, so probably she has access to the better things in life, so to speak. Yeah, he's happy and proud. And of course, he gets it in his head that, oh, I know what she wants. What she really wants is to be with me, but she can't say it. But I'm a man of action, unfortunately. Yeah, perfect, good, and pure. Lana. Yeah, he does the thing. It's horrible. The next part I wanted to point out, blushed bright red beneath it. Yeah, so then he puts her head on his shoulder and he's smiling and he's happy and they've been there. And, you know, she guessed not how her darling one wish would be heard. And thus we sit together now, and all night long we have not stirred. And yet God has not said a word. Uh, I'm sorry? When did God enter the equation? Why didn't God say any word? Why would God say anything? I mean, obviously, this is a horrible act, but this guy is sort of delusional, to say the least. And these are some major points that I think are of note. Things worth discussing, especially how he he rationalizes his behavior because God has not said anything, which there's a lot to say there that I won't. I'm just saying this poem written in 1834 or finished in 1836. Yeah, so I think it's a great poem. I think there's a lot to talk about, especially with, again, the way it's written, the caesures and the... I was hoping I would remember what that's called, but I can't remember. Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.